right? So Bismillah. Let's look at how to deal with waswasa of wudu, right? So number one, okay, no one can categorically say what Allah accepts and doesn't accept. Okay, we can only stipulate, we can only go based on evidence. So as I said, if you don't pray, then of course Allah is not going to accept your prayers because you didn't pray. If you mess up your salah, like you missed your ruku, your sujood, willingly and whatnot, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to accept your prayer. Right? You have to do your best. If you don't even make sujood or something, right? Out of whatever mockery, Allah will not accept your. There's categoric things as to why Allah is not going to accept your prayers. When people get stuck in waswasa of wudu and other things related to, as you said, the deen and religion, then basically shaitan is playing and manipulating. We have to understand that. There's too much emphasis on yourself here. You need to understand that there's here a little bit of a shared burden, and the shaitan is actually the one who is pushing this. Why is it called waswasa? Because it is basically these intrusive thoughts that are coming from waswasa. So shaitan's main objective in this life is to misguide you. Now, he could care less about your sins, but he wants to get you into them with an objective. Those are only milestones for him to achieve what he really wants to get to. Okay? So he's going to do waswasa of wudu, right? Because wudu is a pre-requirement for salah. That's the only time wudu becomes fard, is when salah is to be established. You understand? In that case. So your salah is not accepted unless you have wudu. So he attacks the first wall of the fortress, of the palace. And the first wall is wudu. So he'll whisper, wudu, you did this. Did make you delay your prayer? What if you missed this little hair? What if you didn't do it? What if you touched that? What if it splashed? What if this? What if that? All these things, right? All right. So he hits that. Now, what he does now, he's affecting the second line of defense, the second wall, which is salah. Okay? Once he breaks salah, in salah, maybe you didn't experience it. Maybe you won't experience it. But it will be like, did you pray enough? Yeah, so waswas of salah, different thoughts, different things. Also, whether you prayed enough. Yeah, whether you prayed enough or not, whether you prayed enough rakahs or not, whether you made intention or not, all these things are going to be attacked. What's going to happen after is that he is going to now go towards something like this. And I'm telling you this because of experience with so many OCD cases. It goes now to the next level. Yeah. So what happens next? Yes, after the intention, remind yourself, you have to vocalize it, you didn't vocalize it. You see people, even in the masjid, like saying things out and repeating their takbir so many times, to the point that it becomes destructive. Like it is a waswasa. Now that person is making waswasa. Like I'm sitting next to someone and I made my takbir already. Khalas, I made intention. I'm going to pray. I'm lying myself. I made my takbir. And the person next to me is like, and they're like trying 3-4 times, breaking their salah again. That's waswasa. It's like messing with you, right? But I'm just saying like how bad it can get. And now the next hit is going to be on what? Is going to be on the castle, on the main fortress. I mean, the first wall was taken down. The second wall is taken down. Now it's attacking the palace. What's the palace? Is your aqidah, your iman. So your shaitan is going to say something like, man, this is so difficult. Why do you even believe in this kind of deen? Does Allah even exist? Would a merciful Lord even, allow you to do this? It's so difficult. So, because shaitan steps, khutuwat. He wants to get to you to break your aqidah, to make you to fall into shirk or kufr. That is his main promise object. Don't forget that you have a qareen with you. A lot of people seem to ignore or forget the fact that the Prophet ﷺ told us that everyone has a sign, a qareen is with you all the time. His main objective is to misguide you. That's waswasa alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas. Right? They will whisper in your heart. What is it trying to do again? It's trying to make you commit shirk. But it takes steps. So this OCD, waswasa type of thing linked to salah, to wudu and all that, and then to iman even will go, because I have clients who now have reached the level of iman, is basically to misguide you, to take, and it's shaitan. So one thing, of course, you take accountability about, okay, so the fact that you are asking the question, the fact that you're coming for counseling, the fact that you are talking about this is a proof that you care about it. So establish that in your mind. I do care about it. I'm not from those people who are in ghafla and careless and they don't care. No, you are. Because the Prophet ﷺ did say there'll be some people who don't care. They didn't take care of it. They were very ignorant in terms that they didn't care. So there'll be punishment in the grave for those people who didn't take care of their, the urine and so on their clothes, right? So that's very clear. But these are people who didn't care. You care. You're trying your best. You care so much, actually to care too much, to the point that you become obsessed with it. You have a fixation on it. So number one, keep in mind that it is, to an extent, a big blame of shaitan. What you're doing with it, now this is your part of the fault, right? This is your part of the fault. But shaitan is the one. So don't put too much blame on yourself. Understand that this is shaitan. Okay, shaitan is working with you. He's trying to hurt you. He's trying to put you down. He's trying to make you into kufr. And if you don't realize that realization, I would say, is key to be able to deal with this OCD, with waswasa, wudu, and tahara. It's key to realize that shaitan has a huge role in this, because a lot of people are like fixated only on themselves. And that's the good trick of shaitan. Shaitan's so smart. He gets you, he does waswasa, right? As Allah says in the Quran about him, that he will just dissociate himself. فَلَا تَلُومُونِي وَلُومُ أَنفُسَكُمْ. Don't blame me, blame yourself. He's going to dissociate himself. So a lot of people actually, they forget that he's even there. So now they start thinking, oh, I'm so crazy. Oh, I'm not normal, right? Even use the word normal, abnormal. I'm not normal. Maybe there's normal people. No, so shaitan's trying to really get you to become crazy and to ignore him. Even though the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Baqarah, when he introduces to us the story of Adam, he introduces to us the objective of this life. He introduces to us also what? Adu lakum. He is an enemy to you. He introduces our enemy right at the beginning of the Quran, so that humanity knows who is their enemy, right? That's what humanity needs to know. Who is my enemy? Yet a lot of humans, Bani Adam, they ignore shaitan. They don't realize. They dismiss him as some stories, that you see in the movies, and don't even have awareness. Like, how many times did you think about the shaitan is with you today? Most likely not too many. But you've been like blaming yourself and obsessing over yourself. Oh my God, I have this thing, and it's OCD, and and it's compulsive, and you start developing ritualistic type of behaviors to feed that compulsion, and then you're just in this vicious circle, continuously feeding the compulsion. Okay, so that is something that is happening. You need to establish and understand before you can move on. And the second important pillar of dealing with OCD, and trust me, there can be a lot of different approaches from these psychologists and psychiatrists, without a doubt. Some work, some don't work. To some people it works, like for an example, for you it didn't work. So you can, whatever, there's EMT, there's some people use EMDR, some people use all kinds of different approaches, hypnosis therapy, hypnotherapy, different approaches. To some it works, to some it doesn't work. Right? But the best way of healing in the end, when you try these, but in parallel, you have to work on yourself. You have to understand. The Prophet ﷺ said it very clearly. He gave us, like, do you think there was no waswasa at the time of the Prophet ﷺ? There was. He said, shaitan is going to try to tell you, look at this, look at that. Who created this? Who created that? Who did it? Keep going. And then he'll ask you, who created Allah? Right? The Prophet ﷺ, this is waswasa from shaitan. He said, then you should desist. He even said you should say stuff like, Raditu billahi rabba wa bil islam bidina wa bi Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam nabiyyan rasul. I believe, I'm satisfied and pleased with Allah as my Lord, the Prophet ﷺ as a messenger, and Islam as my deen. He says, stop, saying or thinking about it. For example, about passing wind. The Prophet ﷺ said, there's going to be waswasa. He said, if you feel something or you feel like you've done it or not, no, you have to leave it. Because he said, if you didn't smell it, you didn't hear it, khalas, leave it. But it could be that you passed wind. The Prophet said it doesn't, even if you passed wind, look at that, Allah will still accept your prayer, because the Prophet said, you didn't hear it, you didn't smell it, just continue praying. Like shaitan is gonna play. So you see, Allah's the one who accepts and rejects prayer, but a person is going to be bothered by the shaitan. The Prophet told us, no. He gave us example, what to do if you forget in prayer, what to do if you have the shaitan bothering in prayer, to spit dry spit over your left shoulder 3 times. All these, the Prophet dealt with waswasa. So people need to implement these first and realize who they are dealing with, their enemy. And very important pillar of dealing with this is understanding the Sahaba and the Prophet ﷺ and their environment. The Prophet ﷺ said that I am the best of example in terms of prayer, in terms of everything. صَلُّوا كَمَا رَأَيْتُمُونِي يُصَلِّي وَكَمَا قَالَ عَلَيْهِ الصَّلَاةُ وَالسَّلَامُ. And so many, where we follow the Sahaba and the Prophet ﷺ. But we look at their environment, there's no way, the resources they had for wudu versus the resources that we have for wudu, we're fooling ourselves. We can see that it's shaitan just playing. They didn't have tap water. Sometimes they would make istinja with, they would have a sutra that they would use a rock or something, wood or something. They would sometimes use that to wipe. Sometimes they didn't have water. Sometimes they did. So if you understand that, they didn't have toilet paper, they didn't have water, they didn't have all these resources. They washed. The Prophet would make wudu with literally almost like a cup of water. And he would make ghusl with like a small bottle, very small bottle. You're talking about very, very small bottle. Ghusl for janaba, for major impurity after intercourse, So this is not a joke, right? And people are spending liters under the shower that's hitting your head and washing everything off. And soap and this and that, you know what I mean? Or a bathtub in which you could submerge yourself and make intention, and basically you would have ghusl. And people are still convinced that it's not happening. So it's shaitan playing. So keeping that in mind, when you look at the hadith, the Prophet, how he made wudu, they would have to go out in the desert sometimes. The way they would relieve themselves. They didn't have a toilet seat that's circled and protected from just, like they would have to squat and maybe dig a hole or something like that. It was not, it was, you wouldn't have that kind of comfort to just relax on a toilet seat and just sit how you do, and people are on their phone reading a newspaper, right? And it's so crazy, the comfort and the protection that you have on that toilet seat, right? It's just, you're supposed to sit on it so to minimize the damage, but not stand. Obviously, it's not, people stand, but you can, do that, right? You can do that, and it's so much more different in terms of the resources that we have than what they used to have. So different. Yet still people are obsessed, right? So the question was like, how were they cleaning? That they were just cleaning. They were cleaning. They didn't use a magnifying glass to see if everything or whatnot. It was just about clean. Do your best to clean. Make sure you clean. Make sure you use the tools and everything. None of the Sahaba stayed 10 minutes and make just istinja, or 20 minutes to make ghusl. No, because they understood. I do what the Prophet taught me, and I'm going. Tawakkal Allah. Khalas. Of course, Allah will accept my salah, because I'm not a person who's just like, nah, just throwing. Okay, I'll just pull my pants up and that's it. I'd even shake it. No, you have to clean and do your best, of course, but not sit there and continue. You're missing your prayer, delaying your salah. Your mind is somewhere else in salah, and you're maybe losing or not the ajr. Allah alam. So this is how it works. These things need to be understood. A lot of people don't talk when it comes to waswas of tahara. To link us, we want to say, let's follow the example of the Prophet. Let's the Prophet sirah, this. But when it comes to this, we never link it back. No one thinks about it. Wait a second. How did they live in Medina? How did they travel? How did they relieve themselves? How did they go and clean? Did they carry toilet paper with them? A lot of times water was so scarce. A lot of people don't understand. If you look like Umdatul Fiqh, for example, a book of comparative fiqh, and many, like the madhab will say that Even sometimes water, if you, it's like, it's not like if you, for example, if you wipe with something, if there's a clean thing to make tahara with, it's not just water. A lot of people don't know that they think it's just water. It's not just water. Okay, you can, if you obviously have water, you have to do it with water. Wudu is with water. Sometimes you can wipe with mud, with, you know, for example, like, just let's say, for the sake of not getting into too much detail, but let's say, for example, if a man relieves himself, number one, okay, urine, okay, most men are used to like having a bottle, right? You can actually use just toilet paper. I'm not saying that you should, right, because you have water there, but you can use like anything that's thought, like even like sand or earth from the bottom. You know, let's say you're outside somewhere, there's no water, there's some sand, you're in the desert. You can actually rub sand, you can rub mud, you can rub a leaf, you can clean yourself with a leaf. Anything that is tahir and pure like that, you can use to purify yourself when it comes to that type of thing. A lot of people do not realize that, right? So they become extremely upset because we become so clean in this life right now, with soap killing 99% of bacteria, with all kinds of disinfectants, with Dettol. People are taking baths in Dettol and whatnot, right? This, I got the Estinja pipes, okay, that they never had before, right? These pipes that are coming out and spraying you all over, right? It's insane how clean we have become. It's not that you should not be careful about the tahara. You have to. Intention, doing your best, but I think we have gone really obsessed with this because of the lifestyle that we have and the societies that we live in. And if we compare that to the Sahaba and the Prophet ﷺ and the resources that they had, it was a very, very different thing. So you need to relax. Knowledge is the antidote to ignorance. Knowledge is the antidote to many things. And knowledge has also context. And context is extremely important. And the Prophet ﷺ was the walking Quran. The Sahaba were better than all of us. And if they were able to make wudu and istinja and ghusl with such limited resources, I mean, subhanAllah, you know, we should just do our best and just go and pray, you know, not delay our prayer and, you know, keep accompanying shaitan and these kind of things. You know what I mean?